If you're thinking about evicting a tenant, stop. Before you do anything, please watch this because the biggest mistake landlords and agents are making right now is going straight into an eviction without understanding what has changed. And it's the kind of mistake that can turn a straightforward situation into an expensive, complicated, and very public problem. Let me explain why. Think about this from the tenant's perspective for a moment. They have made your property their home. Their children are settled in school. They've spent money making it a comfortable place to live in. And now all of a sudden, they're being told to leave. That is a shock to their system. They've made friends, etc. That, and that shock, the stress, that's what makes tenants fight back. And with all the new superpowers that they now have, and the multiple routes of complaints available to them, and the fact that going to the local authority triggers an automatic investigation and eviction that is not handled correctly can open a whole new can of worms. Right. So this is always a point that I have seen in my experience when you had a perfectly good tenant and the relationship turns sour and it goes from bad to worse. And then it becomes a long drawn battle, you against them. Right. And what with rent repayment orders that way they can kind of claim back up to 24 months, right? And all the different things that they can kind of do. Right. So you want to be handling this situation very, very sensitively. So the moment a tenant goes to a local authority, the questions start. What condition is a property in? Are there repairs issues, category 1 or category 2 hazards? And the local authority does not want them in temporary emergency accommodation because it costs them 3 times the normal market rent to keep a tenant there. So they're going to ask every question they can find to find a reason to keep the tenant in the property. So before you think of serving the notice, here's what you need to do first. Get a Category 1 and Category 2 risk assessment survey carried out on that property right now before anything else, because if they find something is found and after you have served notice, it becomes very difficult to defend and it constitutes unlawful eviction. You can get fined for and penalized for. Right? So, but if you have an independent survey report from us, right, Category 1, Category 2 risk assessments from us, showing the condition of property at the point in time, that provides you with a level of protection. It shows you acting proactively, and it is far more likely to result in an improvement notice than a fine if anything is picked up later. So now the eviction itself, and we work in close partnership with a specialist organization that handles the entire eviction process. They gather everything, they build a case, all the information, all the documentation, all the paperwork covered. They ask all the right questions. They make sure everything is in order before you get to the point of eviction, so that when you need to act, everything is ready. If you go straight to a solicitor, they wait for your instructions, and the longer the case goes on, the more money they make. Simple as that. They are billing by the hour. They do not know the risks that are sitting inside your property, and they have no reason to rush. If your tenant goes to a no-win, no-fee firm in right first, they will drag it out. They will use every single trick in the book, every repair issue, every hazard, every delayed response. It all gets used against you, and it's all over the internet right now. Right, So, and if your tenant goes to the local authority before you've got everything in order, you'll be hit hard with fines and penalties before you even get close to an eviction. You need to be moving correctly in the right direction and with the right people. But here is what makes our service genuinely different. Our specialist partner organisation, Social Housing Options, does not just process a legal notice. They are trained to speak to the tenant sensitively, professionally, humanely, to put them at ease, to let them know that they're not going to simply be thrown out, to work with them to explore alternative accommodation options, right, because they have access to different preferential pathways through our network, and we work very closely together to help find solutions for tenants wherever possible. Why does that matter to you as an agent? Well, because a tenant who feels heard and supported is a tenant who does not contest. And a tenant who does not contest means a clean, straightforward process with no tribunals, no complaints, no enforcement triggers, and no damage to your landlord relationship. We handle this sensitively, but we handle it professionally, and we handle it in a way that protects you, protects your landlord, and treats the tenant with dignity they deserve. Book your free 30-minute consultation below. Let our partner walk you through the whole process, how it works, what it costs, how to make sure that everything is in place before you take a single step. Right. So do not go to the wrong place first. Come to us, and if you haven't already, make sure that you right, you have signed up to our free membership, right, where we bring you all the enforcement right, activity, right, that is taking place in your by your local authority, right, and plus much, much more.